You know, I have a plan for today's show because it's a 4-part episode. A lot of information jam-packed into this show. And part 1 is a free high-res album download for you guys, for Audiophiliac viewers. Part 2 is a confession, my confession of, well, audio jealousy. Yes, I was jealous and I feel a little bit ashamed. I'm going to tell you that story. Part 3 is the reviewer's dilemma. And I've touched on this before, but it's really also the buyer's dilemma and even the designer's dilemma. And part 4 is, well, you know it, you love it, the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Before we get to the 4 parts, I just want to make mention that over this past weekend, there was an audio show in New York City, and it was called Can Jam. It's a headphone show. Now, while I don't really cover headphones anymore, at least in any serious way, I want to just go to the show to hang out, to be among my people, audiophiles, right? And I had the best time. The crowd was great. The exhibitors, the vibe was terrific. And best of all, so many people came up to me and said hi, and we did selfies together and talked. I had the best time. And I'm bringing this up, well, this is in the past, but coming up, not so far away, in mid-April is Axpona, which is held near Chicago, and I will be there. So, and that's a real audio show, so I hope you can come. It's a terrific show. The last time I was there was in 2019. But anyway, I hope you can come, and if you do, and you see me at the show, please say hi. But as for the 4 parts, well, let's get to part 1. This free download, which is by my friend David Chesky, his new label, which is called the Audiophile Society. And it's a clean break, really, from what he's done before with his other company, Chesky Records. But anyway, the album itself is called the Hi-Fi Collective. The name of the album is Slow Reduction. And it's kind of a groove, a chill, it's funky. It's got some twists and turns, and it sounds amazing. So David has cooked up this new process called 3D mega dimensional sound. And what that really does is to produce an incredibly wide yet highly focused soundstage. When you're listening over speakers, the sound appears to come from beyond the width of the speakers. And also, when you're listening over headphones, that the sound appears outside the ear cups of your headphones. Oh, but wait, it gets even better. This is almost like a TV commercial, but this is not a paid commercial, by the way. There's 3 separate mixes on the album. A PCM 192 24-bit speaker mix, a PCM 192 24-bit headphone mix, and a third DSD speaker mix. Oh, one other thing, the bass on this recording is phenomenal. It's really deep, really fast, highly defined, and it is a true test for anybody's speakers, big ones, small ones, and subwoofers. It's going to knock your socks off. Really nice stuff. Okay, part 2. Part 2 is my true confession of audiophile jealousy. I heard a system that just knocked me out, and I wanted that sound for my own. Yeah, it happened. And that's pretty rare. I hear systems that are really good, but it's not like I want that. In this case, I wanted a piece of that. Let's put it that way. Anyway, the system consisted of a pair of new Klipsch La Scala speakers. And you guys know I'm a big Klipsch fan. And I've heard older La Scalas, and I like them, but they weren't like this. But I do have to stress, I don't think it was strictly that it was the latest Klipsch, but that's what was in the system. And the rest of the system consisted of a Garrard 301 turntable with a 12-inch Schick arm and a Dynavector cartridge. The phono preamp was by Manley. The actual preamp line stage was a Prima Luna Evo 400. The power amp were Manley monoblocks, and the speakers were these La Scalas, these latest La Scalas. Anyway, they look really nice. But anyway, we're sitting there listening, and we just happened to play, we were only playing vinyl, by the way. We happened to play Miles Davis album Nefertiti from 1966. And I've mentioned this record before, and I've played it hundreds and hundreds of times. But it never sounded like that. Now, Tony Williams' drums, over there on the left channel, were exploding. I mean, this guy was a powerhouse drummer. He wasn't like a regular jazz drummer. He had these accents and just going to town on those drums. It was explosive, it was powerful, and it was thrilling. So he's over there doing his thing. And then to balance him on the right channel was Herbie Hancock, who's just playing these chords, just quietly playing these chords. And then he'd get a little, put some energy into it, but he's doing his thing over there. Of course, Miles is in the center, and he was sounding more powerful, more in control, more leading the band and controlling the action that I've never felt it quite like that. And I've even seen Miles live once. But anyway, this is another story. It was an amazing experience. So we're playing that, I'm totally digging, and just hearing how Miles can be so delicate and powerful and fast, and wow. So then we also played Sketches of Spain, which is a more orchestral sound, and again, it was goosebump territory. As a matter of fact, I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about how beautiful it sounded. His playing, Miles playing on Sketches of Spain is extraordinary, even for Miles. It's just, wow, it's right up there with the best he's ever done. And then we played some Frank Sinatra, and yeah, I know Sinatra's voice on record, but it was never like that he was in the room. He was more human. His phrasing, his presence, his breath control, everything was more there, more vivid, more alive. And I kept thinking, this is something really, really special. I've heard a lot of great systems in my life, but none of them, I think, had an effect on me emotionally like this one did. So then I go home, and I played some of those same recordings again over the Pure Audio Project. And I love the Pure Audio projects, but they weren't doing what the La Scalas were doing in that system. They were beautiful, they did a lot, but they weren't. It's like, where did that magic go? I want some of that. But here's the thing. I was lusting after that sound, but then I realized, A, that his room, my friend's room, was much bigger than this space. And I think the speakers, the La Scalas, were playing that room in a way that even if the La Scalas were here and I was sitting somewhat closer to them and everything, it wouldn't have really been the same experience in this room. And, they're kind of heavy. He's not like, yeah, let's just bring him over to Steve's. It's not going to work that way. So anyway, it's not that I want to really recreate that sound. I mean, as a fantasy, sure. But the reality is it's not going to work. I can't have speakers that big here. They overwhelm the room, make it hard to review other things, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, it was just one of those experiences that really put me through some changes, because it so rarely happens. So yes, I was jealous. I wanted that. But in the end, I'm very, very happy with the sound of the Pure Audio Project speaker. So don't think I'm going to switch, because I have no plans to switch. There's always a faster car and a different sounding, in some ways better speaker. So you got to be happy with what you got. And what I got right now is really, really good. So now I'm going to tackle part 3, which is what I'm calling the reviewer's dilemma. But it's also your dilemma, the consumer's dilemma when buying audio. And actually, it's also the designer's dilemma. The audio designer faces the same dilemma. And the dilemma is that if I'm reviewing a speaker, I'm listening to it in the context of the entire system, the entire reference system. And I insert that speaker and I say, okay, here's how it sounds mentally or physically comparing it to the rest of the reference speakers that I have and the other speakers that have come before it. But in terms of the actual sound of the speaker, I don't know, because I have to listen to it with all this other stuff, which is going to significantly influence its sound. Same thing for an amplifier. If I'm reviewing an amplifier and I play it through the Pure Audio Project or the Zoo speakers, I still have to use that other stuff to determine the sound of the amplifier, or the preamplifier, or the DAC, or the cartridge, or the turntable, right? You have to hear it in context. So for example, if I'm reviewing speakers now, I'm going to be using a few different amplifiers. I'm going to be using the Schiit Vidar, the NAD M23, the Linear Tube Audio Reference 40. But anyway, so I'm listening to a given speaker and I'm using different amplifiers to kind of tease out what is the sound of this speaker. And the same thing for you when you buy a speaker. Whatever the rest of your system is, and probably most importantly, the amplifier that you partner with that speaker is going to influence the sound of the speaker. So it's a moving target. That's the problem. Too many variables. And of course, your room is different than my room and my friend's room, which was a lot bigger than this room. And it's the same thing for designers. If you're a speaker designer, how do you know what your speaker sounds like with a bunch of different amplifiers? You don't. You might try 2 or 3. I mean, some designers just design on a computer and barely listen to it, and that's a valid approach, I suppose. But I found, actually, over the years, many years of reviewing, that people that tell me that they design solely on computer or 95% on computers to do all the work and do some measurements, what they come up with isn't usually my cup of tea. It's not to say it's not good, it usually doesn't connect with me. There are always exceptions to that, though. But anyway, so the designers, have to listen to the product that they're reviewing in the context of systems, or I hope they do, and that would steer their decisions about what this product is and what it should sound like, because it's going to sound different all the time. I mean, I really wish, I've talked about this in the past, that speaker designers or speaker companies were more specific about the kind of electronics that should be partnered with their speakers, or how to place their speakers. Do they really need to be, 6 inches from the wall, or 12 inches from the wall, or 3 feet, and how wide they should be, and the optimal listening distance, which I think would be really, really important information, exactly how far you are from the speakers, because maybe they're designing for 8 feet away and you're sitting 10 feet away. Well, maybe you're not hearing them at their best. So I wish they would let us in on that information. So yeah, I'm doing my best to describe the sound of the product under review. And it's an imperfect system, using words to describe the sound. I get it, and I wish there was a better way. But you know what? Even if you get to hear the product at home before you buy it, a home trial or something, and you listen to it for a few days or a week or 2 weeks or something, and you like it, that doesn't mean, unfortunately, that you're going to continue to like it for a year or 2 years or 3 years, right? Your tastes change, your mood changes, your system changes, everything's changing all the time. So it's really hard to nail it down, and that's the big dilemma for you as consumers, and for me to continuously describe products with different things that are coming and going in my system, because it can't just stay the same as it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. My system has to also evolve. Anyway, it's complex. But it's also the fun of this hobby, is all of those interactions of the person, the audiophile themselves and their room and their system. And of course, if you have a system and you move to another place, is your new home, your new apartment going to sound better or worse than your old? There's a lot going on. There's a lot to take in. We've gotten to that very special part of the show called the Audiophiliac Viewer System of the Day. This one comes to us from Nab. He lives in Suffolk, England, and he has a pair of Celestion A2s that were manufactured in Ipswich, Suffolk between 1997 and 2002. The integrated amplifier is a Cambridge Azure 851A. DAC is a topping D90 SE phono preamp, Cambridge Audio Alva Duo, and the turntable is an Inspire Hi-Fi Quest with a Riga RB250 arm and an Audio-Technica ATVM95SH Shibata moving magnet cartridge. CD transport is a cheap CD player with a coaxial output going into the topping DAC. Thanks, Nab. Okay, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac, and I want to thank you for watching my video today. It means a lot to me, actually. Anyway, so if you like what I'm doing here on the channel, please consider joining my Patreon. If you enjoy my reviews, my thought pieces like today's show, the Audiophiliac viewer systems of the day, interviews, all of that, and so much more, please consider joining the Patreon. The address is on the screen right now. And beyond that, hey, if you like this show and you just want to subscribe, if you have yet to do so, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like a given episode, like this one, please hit the like button. And with that, I could say my work here is at last complete. Thank you again for watching, and I really, 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 really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.